Hi, it's Luke with Auto Darts. Today we're checking out a brand new 3D printed blaster. This is the Legacy from Armatus Designs. Let's get going. Armatus Designs sent me over this blaster. This is the Legacy blaster. So the first thing I want to say is that I received this blaster for free. I did not purchase this, so keep that in mind with my review. I was excited to check out any new 3D printed blaster. I think this hobby has just exploded and I love seeing new content. Now, Armatus Designs may be a new name, but I've been informed and done a little research and found out that UIN13 was his previous channel name, and he's actually been in this hobby longer than just about anybody I know. If I'm not mistaken, I believe he has been doing this longer than Coop for sure, and possibly Drac as well. Correct me in the comments if I am wrong, but I think that's the case. UIN13 YouTube channel's first video was about 13 years ago, so his work predates me in this hobby by 5 or 6 years, which is amazing because he's very much an old school nerfer. This Legacy platform and blaster are his first venture into 3D printing as far as something available for public consumption. It is a top prime or front pump prime single shot blaster. It has a feel a lot like a very similar blaster, the Aeon Pro. The blaster is very simple to use, very straightforward. It's top prime, it's got a nice smooth slide, and it hits fairly hard. Out of the box, this was hitting about 137 average with our 20-shot average standard setup, but the standard deviation was considerably larger at about 26 feet per second standard deviation, meaning that the variance between shots was quite large. There are a number of configurations you can buy this blaster in. There is a larger top slide. I believe this might be what they're shipping it with now. And there are different muzzle options for up front. I kind of like this little stubby guy. It's kind of like a minimalist setup, very, very slick. I think the styling on the blaster looks very cool and the grip is very comfortable with one minor exception. From an ergonomic standpoint, the grip is fabulous, the trigger well is wonderful, and the trigger guard is plenty large to not impede my fingers getting in and out of this grip. So I think that's fabulous. The one complaint I do have there is that there are some sharp edges here on the back of the grip that literally cut into here. Not a big deal. I think I will just take an X-Acto knife and hack those off, but I do think that could be changed and fillet it out a little bit on this corner so that those aren't stabbing the back of your hand as you hold onto the grip. The mag release is very slick, though it is not a gravity drop, it is a pull assist. It's a pretty tight fit, but I would rather have a tight fit than have the magazine wobble around in here and potentially fall out or airdrop. It's nice to have an a magazine that'll drop free fall, but then on the other side of that equation is the Pyara, where the mag had so much slop it made noise and moved around and actually caused some firing issues. So overall, this is a really interesting blaster. It's very different. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to play with. I can't wait to put it through its paces in the games that we'll finally have coming hopefully in a couple months here. It's been a long year and a half, guys. Other than that, it's got a very similar breech style to other blasters on the market. It feels a little bit like a mini Caliburn, ultimately, with the rails and the print orientation and the setup. It's got a nice feel and it's very polished, but I do feel like the printing is maybe a little bit off the grade that we would ship. I see quite a bit of ringing, which is a print artifact, especially in this barrel shroud here. There are some different various zits and other things on the surface. But I wouldn't call these bad prints by any means, but they're definitely like a B+ if I were to give them a sort of letter grade on the prints. This is the sort of parts that we'd probably sell as maybe more of a B grade, which is why we call them B grade. But I am a little bit fanatical, and we do have fairly decent printers. They're all the same, and they're all really well tuned in and maintained. So depending on your brand of printer and how fast you're printing, there are a lot of trade-offs you can make there. So you can trade off speed for a little bit less quality, and sometimes that's going to be a better option for production. This is obviously a Talon Mag only blaster, but let's face it, at this point, if you're not using Talons, what are you using? There are some exceptions, of course, but really the Talon magazine and the Talon magwell has taken over our hobby completely. One additional note I want to make on this blaster is that it feels like just rock solid. I think it's got a lot of fairly thick walls and solid infill, so it is a very much, it's a heavier blaster than you would expect from most 3D printed blasters, and it's got a heft to it that really lends itself to making it feel extra solid in your hands. And I think that's going to translate to pretty easy use and accuracy in the field, as far as it's actually a little bit easier. It's slower but easier to aim a heavier blaster, just due to the amount that the blaster will drift in your hand while you're aiming. I think this is a fabulous first entry for a blaster from a new creator in the 3D space. Again, I say new, but he's much, much older as far as time in our hobby, so take that as you will. He's obviously got a ton of experience in homemades, far, far more than I do, and probably far more nerf modding experience than I do. But I think this is a really amazing first offering from a legacy creator, and legacy could not be a better name for the blaster. In the end, I'm going to give this blaster a 4 out of 5 stars. I think with some minor improvements to some ergonomic things as far as the sharp corners and the print quality, I'd give it 5, but it's a really solid offering. Again, all those links are in the description below. Let me know if you have any other questions about the blaster. Can't wait to see what he does next. Thanks for watching. As always, do hit that like button as you go down to the comments. Until next time, I'm out of darts.